This is Neil Ratner Rock Doc here on WDST Radio Woodstock with another episode of This Week in Rock with support from Transcend Dental and my friend, the amazing dentist and rock star Bruce Milner. Visit Transcend Dental, his stunning new office at 2 Maverick Road on the corner of Maverick Road and Route 375. On November 17, 1980, John Lennon and Yoko Ono released the album Double Fantasy. The album marked Lennon's return to recording music following his 5-year hiatus to raise his son Sean. John began writing songs again after an experience he had at sea in June 1980 when he embarked on a sailing trip from Newport, Rhode Island to Bermuda. During this journey, the 43-foot schooner encountered a severe storm. The crew of 5 were overcome with fatigue and seasickness, but not Lennon, who was eventually forced to take the helm alone for 6 hours. The experience renewed John's confidence, made him question the fragility of life, and inspired Lennon to begin writing again. And as John relates, once he began writing, the ideas just kept coming.
Suddenly I got the songs, like had, if you pardon the expression, diarrhea of creativity. And in fact, we went in the studio and cut about 22 tracks and cut it down to 14 to make the dialogue. They were all dialogue songs, meaning that we were writing as if it was a play and we were the 2 characters in it. But it's real life, but not real as well, because on a song or a record, it can't be real. I mean, we could have taken it a step further and made this record so maybe she would be called Ziggy Stardust and I would be called Tommy. And then you would call it a rock opera, you see? But we always worked from our own selves as near as we could. So the album, the work we did on this thing is really a play, but we're using ourselves as the characters. And what we sing about in the record and the songs are real diaries of how we feel. But also it's always not really, really real because it's a song and it's on a record and you project it in a different way. We had discussed going back in the studio, but I didn't have the material, but I wasn't worried about it because I thought, well, I haven't done it for a long time. Maybe if I switch into that, there'll be something there. But it just sort of came. And I called her because I was in Bermuda with Sean, and she was here in New York. I called her and I said, well, look, we were talking about recording. It must have triggered something off here because I'm getting all this stuff. And I started singing it to her down the phone or playing a cassette. And she would call back 2 hours later and say, well, when you sang that, Losing You, she'd come back with Moving On or something. And then I'd say, oh, moving on, okay. And then I'd be swimming or doing anything. Suddenly something else would come, like starting over. I'd say, hey, well, look, this is what happened. And it started working, like coming out like that.
The title of the album came to John when he went to the Botanical Gardens and saw a flower labeled Freesia, Double Fantasy, and felt Double Fantasy was everything the album represented to him and Yoko. Double Fantasy was negatively viewed upon release. However, after Lennon's murder 3 weeks later, it became a commercial worldwide success, winning the Grammy for Album of the Year in 1981. Watching the Wheels was the 3rd single from the album. Lennon wrote the song to explain what he had been doing the last 6 years. No longer interested in fame, John had dedicated himself to family and became the world's most famous house husband. The song makes a statement that taking it easy and spending time with loved ones is anything but crazy, and that working way too hard can be quite unfulfilling in the end. Okay, let's listen. From the album Double Fantasy, John Lennon and Watching the Wheels.